Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now there's no doubt that in my mind having good quality fire making kits is just absolutely required if you're the outdoorsman, if you're into survival, if you just need the ability to start a fire in adverse conditions. And that's exactly what we're going to take a look at today with this UCO Fire Making Kit. This kit here consists of a number of different fire starting, I would say, and not devices, but you'll see. Some tinder, some matches, and a ferro rod. Now, at this point, I've used this at length. I've fully demonstrated it out in the field to start my fire. I have a number of different things to talk through, and I've also turned this from what was the base kit that it came with to now a more comprehensive, fully featured tin that has pretty much everything I would need to start a fire in almost any condition. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this UCO kit in detail. You're going to see it being used out into the field. Then we're going to come back. We're going to come into the studio and I'm going to show you how I've now outfit this with this comprehensive suite of fire making products. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now, before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at UCO who did provide this for review. And so now, as we get into the UCO Fire Starting Kit, this here has enough supplies to get you started for your fire making needs. Now, this does come with a few things that are very handy, and I would also go as far as to say creates an excellent base platform for a more comprehensive kit. So you'll see here as I get this out of the packaging, this tin, which does come with some fire starting capabilities. Now, the first thing I do need to say, everything presented very well, the tin, very nice, and the overall quality of this product, very, very nice, and even after all of my field use. So here you'll see what are called the Stormproof Sweetfire strikeable fire starters and Stormproof matches. These do come with the set and give you the capability of starting a number of fires. Now this for me, again, as I have mentioned, is going to be the base of a larger kit. You'll see that I do build this out to a more comprehensive kit by the end of this video, and I think that's fairly important. The other thing that this kit does come with is a ferro rod and a striker. Now, the other thing that you'll find by the end of this, I do think that the ferro rod and striker are a little bit undersized, but it's definitely a great way to get you started. Now, the main thing for me, the fact that you have this beautiful tin, the UCO tin, very nice. This is a multi-use and multi-purpose item that you could use a number of different ways depending on your needs. And you'll see what I do by the end of the video. I do build this kit out to a more comprehensive fire starting kit. But that is what I would say is in the eye of the beholder. You could certainly use this as a med kit. You could use this as, I would say, a basic needs kit or a fire kit depending on what you're trying to do. But if you're not careful, as you see, you could potentially dump the contents out of this. Just be a little bit careful, and you may want to get yourself a band such as a Ranger band to keep everything tidy. But now as we turn the corner here, you'll see these Stormproof matches. This does come with 25 matches, so that's a good thing. Certainly the capability of starting a whole bunch of fires. Now you can see everything coming up nicely packaged, has a little bit of an extra striker, and you can see a fairly large match overall. When you take a look at this, it is the size, I would say, from my sort of second knuckle all the way to the tip of my finger. Now, one thing that I like to do is test the overall capability of these products. These do state that they have roughly a 15-second burn time. So doing the best I can. You'll notice I started my timer a little bit after it started. So taking an average, I'd say roughly around 19 seconds. The other thing is these do state that they are windproof and waterproof. So here you can see a little bit of a wind test. Now, if I can blow a concentrated breath over a number of seconds on this match and it will stay lit, I feel confident that these will stay lit in pretty much any condition. And even furthermore, being waterproof, well, what about extinguishing these? Nope, they do not extinguish. When you fully submerge them in water, they will burn underwater. This is really interesting and very important to understand. These UCO Stormproof matches are definitely effective. Now here, the Stormproof Sweetfire Strikeable Fire Starters. This does come as an 8-pack, and here you can see they do come nicely packaged. The striker on these boxes, very, very useful and very effective. And again, testing the overall burn length. Now these do have a fairly reasonable burn length. They report on the packaging up to 7 minutes each. So here, as I'm burning these down, you'll notice that they're an interesting makeup. They have a striker tip with a bit of like a powder that allow these to burn and get up to temperature. And then they have an actual tinder source, which will burn at length. Now, I'm not exactly sure completely what these are made of. I have had very similar products in the past. These are somewhat compressed material, and they do seem to be somewhat water resistant. Now, after an entire burn test, you'll see at over 8.5 minutes, these definitely performed well beyond the 7 minutes that were reported on the packaging. Now, what about the actual striker here? So leveraging the ferro rod and the striker, a ferro rod of this size, which is fairly small with a fairly small handle, is always difficult for me. Some of you might be better at this. I always struggle with a small fire steel or ferro rod. So here you can see I'm actually trying to leverage this to start one of the Stormproof Sweetfire Strikeable Starters. I figure in a horrible situation, if you forgot your actual packaging, if you forgot a striker for the Stormproof Sweetfire Strikeable Starter, then you could potentially get it started leveraging your ferro rod and striker. So here you can see I am trying to get this lit by starting the ignitable side of the Sweetfire Fire Starter. But unfortunately, the tether that holds the striker to the ferro rod was a little bit difficult for me. So cutting it out of the way, and at this point giving me a little bit better leverage. Again, not incredibly good results. These strikers are fairly small, so a small striker on a small ferro rod means you need to be perfect with your technique. Here, just going to the spine of the knife, really ripping some sparks. So here you can see leveraging this Mora and really ripping some sparks again onto the strikeable side of the fire starter. This fired up with ease, no problem. And then I know I have over 8 minutes of burn time. Taking this fire starter, dropping it into my tinder bundle on top of my fire lay, and at this point getting my fire up and going. That made a huge difference for me. So getting this whole thing going, leveraging the UCO Fire Starting Kit, no problem. A number of different ways you can go about starting your fire, and I would say a kit that is absolutely effective as it is. But in my opinion, you definitely want to build out your kit a little bit more so that you have a larger suite of materials to leverage. And you will see that is absolutely what I did. So again, having a beautiful tin, having some real nice fire starting capability, and just a base platform to work from, in my opinion, that's exactly what you get from the UCO Fire Starting Kit. And so there you have it, a look at the UCO products out in the field, basic field testing. Now, I always say with different items, whether it's sleep systems or shelter systems, or in this case, my fire making kit, practice in a controlled environment, so when you get out into the real world, you know how your kit's going to behave. That is critical. A lot of people just think they can take these things out into the field for the very first time, and you'll notice from me, I learned some important lessons. How effective is the kit? How effective are the fire-making sort of apparatus? The fire starter, the ferro rod, I struggled a little bit. I had to adapt. The actual, matches were fantastic, but, I tested the burn length. That's important to know. So every product is going to behave different, and you want to understand that before you get into a situation where you need them. And so as I mentioned, I did take the factory tin with the factory products and I've now since expanded upon the kit. That is the awesome thing that comes with this tin. This tin is far larger than the products that come with it, so it allows this to be multi-use, multi-purpose, and very comprehensive. Now, I do want to point out a couple of things. At this point, I have opted to completely fill this out with a number of different products. However, if you wanted to, you could do something really cool with this tin, and you could use it to make a massive amount of char cloth or different char products. And what I'm saying is, if you've ever seen the use of an Altoid tin to create char cloth, pretty much what you do, you poke a little hole, you put a bunch of like cut up cloth and stuff inside, you bury this in a fire for a given period of time, not too long, just a few minutes, and by the end of it, you get useful char cloth. Now, I have since transferred this char cloth from my tin, which I used to make it, into part of what is in now this comprehensive kit in the UCO tin. So again, keep in mind that you could leverage this tin for different, I would say, different sort of projects or different sort of reasons within your fire, but I opted to use it really to build a clean and comprehensive kit. And so at this point, a few things. I do have the, standard products that come with this inside, but you'll see I've added a number of other items. Now, each one of the fire starters that you saw came with a little sort of striking pad, and I've since glued those to the inner cover here to give me a striking surface if I need that. Now, it's not all inclusive. It's not the only thing I'm going to use to strike, but it gives me other options. One thing I would hope from this kit that unfortunately it really didn't come with, if the back side of these strikers had like a double-sided tape or adhesive, it would have stuck right in here. I did have to leverage some super glue. Not a big deal, but just a little subtlety that if these came double-sided with some sticky tape, that would be really neat. Now, very basic, you can see a standard Bic lighter. If I wanted to cut down on size, I certainly could do that by putting a mini, but I had this on hand and just threw it in there. This here is trioxane, a military, I would say it's like a fuel source, typically coming in like an MRE or something like that. So again, trioxane, this is a wonderful fire starter. If you haven't used it, I would definitely suggest it. Now, it is chemicals, so you want to be a little bit careful, but at the same time, very effective. I tested these on my channel. These are a waterproof little fire tinder here, sort of compressed material, a little bit of like wood shavings with some wax. These are supposed to be water resistant. They work okay. Not a great tinder source, but at the same time, it could definitely help you in a pinch. Now, remember I said I transferred my char cloth. I use this little Mentos container. It's literally perfect to jam this full of char cloth, and I have a ton of it in here. This could start probably 30 fires if I needed it to. So in a nice, small, and compact package, it's not going to make a mess. It's easy to get at, and this has worked out very well. Here I have an ExoTac match case. Now, this is where I've transferred my UCO Stormproof matches. At this point, this is gasketed. It has a striker, and it's really going to help me keep these safe, keep them dry, and hopefully light when I need them. These are very effective, as you saw in my testing and demonstration, and having these with me, that's awesome. I think I fit about 11 of them in here. Now, for the time being, just 4 of the Sweetfire tinders. Again, you saw how well these burned, how long they burned, and the fact that they are very effective. And here, because I'm able to strike these on the side of the tin, that should work out pretty well. So again, these are a great option. I did leave them in the bag, as you can see here, as we mentioned, to prolong the shelf life. Keep them in the plastic, so I have done so. Some additional matches, not a huge need where I have the Stormproof matches, but at the same time, threw a couple extra in here, a couple of different styles, and the ability just to continue to light my fire if needed. I've wrapped this little case here in a piece of sandpaper, which is an effective striker, and that gives me just another option if needed. Here is the ferro rod. Again, it was a little bit undersized for my needs, but definitely effective if you're careful. And if I have a sharpened spine, it is even easier. I put the scraper in here because it is definitely capable of doing the work. You just need to take your time, plan ahead, and really be prepared. Couple little quick tinders. These are easy. You fluff these out. They're cotton based, and you can fluff these out and typically take a pretty good spark, and these will burn for a reasonable amount of time. But one of the most effective tinders that I use, I love this stuff. This here is Fiber Light. So I've covered this in another video. So Fiber Light, a very effective product. Now I did put this in a little tin. You don't need a ton of this, and this is enough to get me by for a good prolonged period of time. Probably I'd say close to 10 fires if I'm careful, and then you can just extinguish the flame by putting the cover over the top. So very effective, and adding this to the kit works out very well. And the last thing here, you can see I did cut down a couple of pieces of fat wood. Again, one of the absolute best tinder sources you can have. So having a couple of pieces of fat wood could really save you when it matters. And that's the bulk of the kit. So as you take a look here, I've gone from just the standard products that come with the UCO tin, and I've now since expanded upon it with just a number of different ignition sources, which is awesome. So all these different tinders, various different styles, ignition sources, just fantastic. So now at this point, I have a bunch of ways to start my fire, a bunch of ways to hopefully get it started and turning the corner into sustainment. So this kit right here, having a bunch of different ways to, and here you can see another little striking pad, but a number of different ways to start my fire, and that is awesome. So in all kinds of adverse conditions, you need to be prepared. Again, I urge everybody, practice with your kit. Get outside, start a fire, practice in a controlled environment, so when you get out there, you have the knowledge, you have an understanding of what your kit can do for you, and you can make the adjustments. And so again, looking at the UCO Fire Starting Tin, a great kit coming with those Sweetfires, which I love, the Stormproof matches, which were very effective, the ferro rod, which is a standard must for everybody. So enough to get you started, and with the tin in combination, you can do a number of other things. Again, whether or not you want to make, something like char cloth, or you want to use this for a comprehensive kit and build it out further, you absolutely have the means to do that. You could make a combination kit, add some medical supplies, no problem. You could do a whole bunch with such a simple little thing, and even to the point where if you're careful and you process and prepare this the right way, you could use it for cooking. So just a good quality survival piece of kit, a nice size, yet effective and not overly large at the same time. And so with that, that's a wrap. Again, thank you very much to the people at UCO who did provide this for review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there. So if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.